Have you ever felt the experience before where you were like super happy, fulfilled, peaceful, all is good? You give into a pretty strong desire. After that, you're exhausted, tired, just can't really kind of get your act together. Like someone wants to talk to you, just can't even concentrate because you've depleted your own energy. So people do that mostly unconscious, but sometimes you'll notice it when you've done something that was very attuning and very positive, and then you do something after that if you just thought about it, you're like, oh, these two things just don't mix. And I know that there's a marked drop in my experience when I started thinking like that, when I started looking through my email on my phone or wanting to go onto Facebook or whatever it was. You can feel the marked drop in your own energy. That's not because you're purifying. That's because you're poking holes in your own energy field. You haven't learned how to manage your energy system, so you're leaking. And then you have to keep doing spiritual practices because they're patching you back up in a way. It's not just that. It's not that limiting. But then if you go back out and poke holes in yourself again and start leaking, it's like, it can be a very long process. It's like trying to fill a bucket, but you keep poking holes in it. You patch it, poke more holes in it, patch it, poke more holes in it, patch it. If the goal is to get it full, to feel fulfilled, it's going to take a very long time if that's the technique. So it does require, trying to extend the effect as long as you can. None of us are superhuman, so you're not expected to never poke a hole in your system again, or never leak, or never throw a cord out and get stuck on something that you want. When you want something, you pretty much just launch your energetic cords towards it. It's like a way of trying to pre-apprehend. Before I have that thing, I have that thing. You get a sense of the thing. You have the object. You want the object. You're waiting for the object. Got to have the object. So when you connect a cord to it, now that frequency of the object becomes a part of your own being. The frequency of the object and your attitude while you were wanting to hold or possess that object now has become a part of you. So then how long is that energy, which is probably not reinforcing God, but rather reinforcing maybe patterns of addiction and, things like that. So it'd be very mindful before you use a sense, you are about to establish a connection with that thing. What is that thing? What connection are you about to establish? It can seem a little bit daunting, like, oh my God, I can't manage, this is too much. But if you don't know this stuff, then you keep doing everything again. Like when Christ healed someone, I think this was the story of the blind man, but he just basically said, go forth and sin no more. It's kind of a way of saying stop poking holes in yourself and stop thinking about life incorrectly and stop relating to things how they are not. See everything as God, see everything as divine, see everything as one. So if you keep doing the opposite of your sadhana, and then you do your sadhana 1 hour a day, and then for 23 hours you do the opposite of your sadhana, the odds are not in your favor. So I want to say that because that's more of a true statement. However, the power of the sadhana is a lot stronger than you'd think. So the power of 1 hour of sadhana is actually probably a lot more powerful than the 23 hours of your day doing it wrong. Which is actually pretty comforting to know. Can I get an amen? So it is really comforting to know, but when you talk like that, it creates a little bit of comfort, but it also creates some laziness. It's like, oh, I can get away with anything. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. There are limits. If you do something absolutely knowing I should not do this, the chances of you being able to burn that out quickly is very slim. It may be 5 hours, it may be 5 days, it may be 5 weeks, it may be 5 months, it may be 5 years, it may even be 5 decades, it could even be 5 lifetimes, depending on the intensity of what you chose to engage into. So it's important. They've clearly got their whole system worked out, like where to lay down. So it's important to know that every single way that you use your sense in your actions is creating something, a link. The question is now, what is this link being created with? What are you attaching to? What are you connecting to? So then when you have something that is blessed, it's like the one thing that you're supposed to be addicted to. You're supposed to be addicted to God. And it's not enough to tell somebody who's in a normal state of mind and suffering and say, just connect to God. It's not enough. They want to know, what's God going to do for me? You want me to connect to God? Why should I connect to God? That's what Dharma talks are. It's a lot of convincing. It's really trying to talk about every single avenue so that no one has any questions about why, to connect or not connect. They're solid on that. They know to connect and nothing else matters. But you're having to contend with all these patterns, and mostly it just leads to doubt, So then stories have to be created. To make up stories, you have to talk about things, try to span multiple principles at once. Lots of rituals are created to give you a sense of action, momentum, movement. You're doing something. What are you doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doing something. So it might be a puja, it might be a process, it might be an offering, it might be arati, it might be whatever it is. It might be yoga, it might be pranayama. You're doing something. You're contemplating. So your mind can't just relax and believe and accept that it's all God. It fights. That's why the hardest realization is Brahman, to realize that everything is God. All of this is God. It's easier to realize all of this is Maya and God is a substratum that is underneath it, always pure and uninvolved. To believe that's easy. I say that, but most people have a hard time with that one. But to believe that is easy because it doesn't require you to accept much. You can reject most of Maya. You don't have to like it, even. You just have to love the formless that supports and holds all of it, or is underneath and all-pervasive to it. It's a principle. You can connect and find that principle and find some awakening in that principle, but you can never find that everything is God. Which, that means you're only shortchanging yourself. So to really launch into this whole process, to really accept that you are God, is really what you're trying to do. This whole process is just for you to accept that you and the dogs and me and air and elements and trees and everything is all the same substance. It's the body of God. You have to give it a title. You have to use one that's the biggest for you. So it's all changeable and it's fine. You can call it Shiva one day and God the next day, and love the next day, and peace the next day, and it doesn't matter what you call it. The point is that it has to be consistent. So.